Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up? Gracious good morning to you, good people. It's your girl KB. You know what I do, and you know why I do it. It's Friday morning. It's 3:34 in the a.m. and it's Valentine's Day, February 14th. Um, this this is I want to say kind of hard for me to process. That's why I'm pausing. Um, I share my age on a regular basis in my recordings, and I'm going to say I fall under the category or category. Yeah, I fall under the category of baby boomer. And then after my generation, there are the millennials. Now if you talk to a baby boomer, millennials frustrate us. But, we forget to look at ourselves because we're the generation uh, that kind of, we're big brother or big sister to the millennials, or began birthing millennials. Then we got the Generation Z, and then we got the Alphas. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. We got Boomers, then we got Generation X. So I skipped it. So, yeah, we are the folks that birthed the millennials. Generation X is kind of squashed in there. So boomers go from 46 to 64. So those are the years. Or 65. X's are 65 through 80. Millennials are 77 through 95. So there's an overlap between the Gen X and millennials. And Gen Z is 96 through 15. And now we're alphas. Okay. I'm saying this to say is we're losing a sense, and I'm talking to African Americans, we're losing a sense of our culture. My folks were pretty much the last wave of the Southern migration. They experienced some racial tension, some hardships, but not to the level of my grandparents. Let's see, I had my grandparents, for a short period of time. I think I was 7 or 8 when my grandma passed. My grandfather passed before her. And they were relatively young. Grandma was 49, my grandfather was 52. Okay, so they passed relatively young. So I'm older than my grandparents were. But, there were other folks in my neighborhood that gave me a sense of my Southern roots. That gave me a sense of generational information. That gave me a sense of, I want to say ethnic pride. This is who I am. And stand flat footed on that, stand tall on that, because we fought for this, for your recognition. And so if you talk to somebody that's a little bit younger than yourself right now, a lot of kids have not been taught that. So I encourage a lot of reading, to get that sense of who you are, and that sense of, I want to say, cultural rooting. I shared that I had a conversation with my nephew, and I was heated. And this is my great nephew. I was heated. And then I had to think about, you know, just the layers of what I was upset about, you know. And for me, it was looking at the situation. It was a disrespect and a disregard for the generation who came before you, the person who paved the way. But he didn't have that sense of connection. Yeah, and that's important in our culture. Yeah, and didn't realize that, you know, that's not being taught. So, you know, I wrote him a letter about what it means to be a Black child. You know, if you watched the Super Bowl halftime show, you saw the big game piece. You know, and there are rules to this game we call life. So that being said, you know, I had a conversation yesterday with my old housemate, and, you know, she's a little bit under the weather, so she was saying she was watching old comedy movies to keep her spirits up, you know, and just reminisce. And one of the movies she watched, she realized is 30 years old. And, you know, I watch a lot of movies that take me back. And, you know, at first, you know, I was commiserating and like, I want to watch comedy movies too. So I was planning on doing that because I like to have noise in the background when I'm working on my projects. So I was planning on doing that. But then I got up this morning with this thought, you know, in watching Jasmine Crockett take people to task. Now, Jasmine is a rep from Texas. You need to know that. And Texas and Oklahoma are historically hard on the African American communities. You know, Texas thinks it's its own country. And Texas has a lot of wealth. So, you know, just looking at that, Jasmine clearly has a sense and connection with her roots. Okay, and I'm going to throw a couple of quotes at you. And I'm going to ask that you either watch the movie, I know it's still streaming, or you read the book. And the book is by Ernest Gaines. And the book is The Autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman. Yeah. Here's one of the quotes from the movie. "We ain't giving up." I said, "We done gone this far." The fight. You know, we all have to have the talk with Black male children. Excuse me. And that's the rules of the game. It's like when you go somewhere, you let somebody know where you're going, you give them a time and when you're going to be back. Excuse me, I got a tickle in my throat. When you go in a store, you ask for a bag and you ask for a receipt. You take your hood off so people can see you. You know, you don't walk too close to people. Excuse me. And we all know the street light rule. Be home when the street lights come on. Play around the house where I can see you. You know, we have the neighborhood mothers. We've lost that a little bit, but we have the rules of the game. And see, so one of the things I was talking to my nephew about was he talks back. And I love him to pieces, but it's like, there's rules to this thing. It's like, I understand you have an opinion, but there's a way to express yourself because, you know, where we are and our position in life and melanated skin, sometimes when you talk back, that means you're not coming home. And that's a harsh and stark reality. So, you know, you can't lose a sense of self. You can't lose your connection. And I think, you know, the book Between the World and Me kind of tells the story for Black males. The second quote I want to leave you with is, again, from the autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman. And this is the one that I remember. This is the one that stands out the most for me. Anytime a child is born, the old people look in his face and ask him if he's the one. And by that, it's like, are you going to deliver us? Are you going to be our representation? Are you going to be our voice? You know, and I get so mad when I hear brothers and sisters say, you know, we need a leader. You know, and then make reference to Dr. King. Why is it incumbent upon somebody else when you have a voice? Open your mouth and say something. You know, the hip hop song, when I move, you move. You know, like a military unit, like a well-oiled machine. We have to operate in unity in order to survive. It was true then for the boomers, and it's even more true now because we're right back at square one. Another Super Bowl reference, game over. So it's time to stop.